They say that the president comes from Chicago. Y'all heard that one? So we have some kind of a special responsibility here, I think. I have a special responsibility here. I worked with Barack Obama back in 1992 for about 5 months. He was my immediate supervisor in something called Project Vote. We had a registration drive for the 1992 presidential elections where we signed up 133,000 people to register to vote here in Chicago and stampeded them out to the polls. That's what began his political career. This is why an economist named Michael Hudson, he said that the function of Democrats and Republican candidates and office holders is to deliver their voting constituencies to their campaign contributors. Now, what's that really mean? What does that mean? That means that when Republicans and Democrats campaign, they sound different, don't they? Republicans campaign often on misogyny and homophobia and anti-immigrant stuff and religious bigotry and, of course, white racism. That's what they do. Democrats, well, they don't quite come out against all these things all the time, but at least they give the impression, sometimes they do, but more often they give the impression that even if they won't fight for all these things, they'll stand back and let you fight for them. And then once they get your endorsement, your support, they carry that to their campaign contributors. So they campaign differently, but they govern alike. Barack Obama versus John McCain. John McCain told us in 2008 that we needed to send more troops to Afghanistan because we're winning. Barack Obama said we need to send more troops to Afghanistan. Why? Because we were losing. So the common ground is that they both wanted to send more troops to Afghanistan. When they talked in the first part of that phrase, they were appealing to their voting constituencies, and when they talked in the second part of it, they were signaling the people who fund their campaigns. We need to remember that the bank bailouts, the first of the bank bailouts, was shepherded through Congress by Barack Obama. Bush couldn't pass it. He called in Barack Obama off the campaign trail, and Barack whipped Democratic votes to pass Bush's bailout. Once in office, he quintupled down on it. We've got a wave of foreclosures now, and the Obama administration is defending the banksters and blocking attempts by states to prosecute them. That's right, stop complaining. Stop crying, y'all. Isn't that what he said? He said, suck it up. So, a little later, we're gonna take a swing back by his campaign office. And we're not gonna be crying. We're not gonna be complaining, okay? What we're going to be doing is we're gonna be withdrawing our consent from this. So let's take a walk. Let's go to President Obama's campaign office and let's politely, or maybe not so politely, withdraw our consent. We got something special to bring also to the Occupy Wall Street and Occupy LaSalle Street and Occupy Everywhere movement. A lot of people are mad about the banksters, but there's a bunch of people in the black community who've been crusading for reparations and justice for decades. They've been focusing on some of these same bankster criminals and insurance companies, and some of their roles go back 200 and 300 years. Somebody financed the slave ships. These were insurance companies that are still in business. Somebody financed the slave trade. These were banks that are still in business. 1 minute. And so what these people bring is they bring a historical component to our outrage against the banksters. This didn't start with Glass-Steagall. This didn't start with Glass-Steagall, but it's going to end on our watch. We're going to occupy everywhere. One last thing. In D.C. yesterday, my colleague Glenn Ford called me up and he said that Dick Gregory rushed onto the stage at Occupy D.C. And you know what he said? He said, President Obama supports you. He told me to let you know. Yeah, but when you read Obama's statement, it really wasn't that. Our Democratic friends are going to try to co-opt Occupy Wall Street. They're going to try to turn it into a GOTV thing for themselves next November. We mustn't let them. This is ours.
It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Right now, we've got the first black president of the U.S. bombing black people in Africa. How many people know about that? Do you know that the U.S.-backed rebels are conducting a campaign of ethnic cleansing inside Libya? How many people know that? Okay, that's what kind of audience. See, that's why I threw away my first speech. But what we've got is we've got all black towns in Libya being wiped off the map.
How do we end the endless wars? Tax, tax, tax the rich. How do we get our schools back? Tax, tax, tax the rich. How do we get...
We've got a park in Tripoli where 4,000 or 5,000 black Libyans and sub-Saharan migrants from south of there in Africa are being confined like diseased cattle, without much food, without much water, awaiting a fate that isn't in their hands, but I guess it's in ours. We've got a situation where the U.S. Navy has watched boatloads of Africans trying to leave Libya, go off into the Mediterranean, and leave on the horizon, probably to sink somewhere, or starve, or die. But we invaded the place out of our humanitarian concerns.
Shortly after the UN resolution, on the 8th anniversary of the bombing, the initial bombing of Iraq, the US and NATO started bombing Libya. And they have violated the no-fly zone to go to Tripoli. Many thousands of civilians have been killed in this bombing campaign. And it went from protecting civilians, the mission, to regime change. You know, there's many regimes around the world that we don't agree with, that aren't, that do things that we don't like. But it's none of this the business of the United States of America. It's none of the business of NATO for regime change. So the US, UN, NATO totally violated the terms of the resolution. Many innocent Libyan civilians have been killed. There were many black African immigrant workers that were killed because a lot of the so-called rebellion is very racist. You know, so yet where is the outrage about this? Where are the people in the street saying this is wrong? Where are the people in the street saying what's happening in Somalia is wrong? What's happening in Yemen? The U.S. is drone bombing Yemen. Since Obama's been president, the U.S. has increased their unmanned aerial vehicle bombing in Pakistan by 300%.
My name is Alexi Lanza. I'm from La Voz de los de Abajo. We have a community organization here in Chicago, and we are present in this wonderful crowd and this wonderful march against the war to say, spend the money in education and healthcare and housing and not for war.
My name is Bernie Noven, and I'm here because I feel that our political system is broken. It's absolutely broken. To run for a federal office in this country, you need millions of dollars. When you get into your office, you're going to be representing the corporations and the industries who give you the millions of dollars to run next time. So there is no democracy here. We're talking about putting democracy in the Middle East. We have no democracy here.
My name is Courtney Nisovic, and it feels awesome to be here. This whole movement is just about solidarity and coming together. There's a bike. And it's just about coming together to right the wrongs, what you think, you know, the government should be over what it is now. And it just feels great to be a part of something bigger than yourself.
My name is Lisa Jacobson. My husband and I came down from Woodstock, Illinois, and we finally decided we were not going to sit in our home, soon to be foreclosed upon by a U.S. bank, any longer. That it was time for us to say, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. The banking system has got to stop. The war on labor has got to stop. I actually used to be a member of the Printers Union. You can't get a good printing job in the United States of America or Chicago anymore, for that matter, to save your life. Printers, graphic designers, keyliners, film strippers, we've become obsolete because of technology, and it's basically a minimum wage factory job where it once used to be a craft.
What about Obama? You know, he's promised to end this war, but he's escalated.
Well, my love, he's been promising for a long time, and I think there's way too many vested interests at play in the United States of America for him to let us out of it.
Did Obama let us down?
Oh, I'm totally and completely betrayed by the Democratic Party. Don't like the Republicans and feel so betrayed by the Democrats that I don't know where I'm turning in 2012.
Hey, my name's David Bachman. I'm out here for the protests against Afghan war, corporate greed, slavery to debt. I believe it's time for the people to take a stance against a system that is controlling them, has designed them to be controlled since birth.
What about
Obama, I think he's a figurehead. I think that people put a lot of hope into him, but I don't think that he can get a lot of work done. I think that people have to take it to their own, into their own hands.
Black people have been politically the black wall around Barack Obama. I was in a preacher's office in '07, who was a Harvard grad himself, who was saying, we've got to build a black wall around Brother Obama so that no kind of criticism can affect him, so that he can be empowered to do what he needs to do. Well, you know what? They did that. And right now, black folks are the black wall around Barack Obama. But being that wall hasn't done us any good, because we're not able to protect him against the banksters, because the banksters are inside the wall, aren't they? We're not able to protect Obama against the militarists, because the militarists are inside that wall. Barack Obama decides who's inside that wall. And being that wall hasn't done black people any good. So we need to take a walk to Barack Obama's campaign office, and we need to tell him that when he brings his G8 here, we are going to be here too. We're not going to be penned up and cooped up in our neighborhoods. What we've got here in Chicago is we've got some special responsibilities. What's going to happen here in May, y'all? The G8 conference, that's right. And down the road, we're going to be working in the black community to have a black presence in the streets at the G8. We're going to work on that.